let's finally let's end this with talking about America's most insecure man. We were, of course, talking about FBI Director Kash Patel. So longtime listeners know that Kash has his job because he kissed Trump's ass and is willing to do or say anything Trump wants. Kash literally wrote a children's book where Trump was the king. Then he wrote another book ostensibly for adults where Kash laid out Trump's enemies list. But things have been going very poorly for Kash over at the FBI. He's been criticized for excessive use of the FBI's personal jets for travel to see his girlfriend, including sing at a low-rent wrestling match. He took the FBI plane to a place literally called the Boondoggle Ranch for a quick vacation.
Place that actually exists.
Place that actually exists.
Yeah.
Shockingly owned by a Trump donor, I think. And then it gets worse. So the New York Post obtained a report that was put together by what they describe as a, quote, alliance of active duty and retired agents and analysts who talked to like 24 FBI sources. And it is absolutely brutal. So I'm going to just basically read some quotes from the Post story.
Which is wonderful.
Have you had time to read the whole 115-page document?
No, but I read a good chunk of it. It made me feel better.
I might just go to sleep with that in my my little Kindle tonight. So here's some of the stuff it says. It says Patel is in over his head, and that his deputy Dan Bongino is something of a clown. These are quotes, by the way. The FBI is described as a rudderless ship and all fucked up. One person says Patel, quote, has neither the breadth of experience nor the bearing an FBI director needs to be successful. This is a verbatim line from the story, Ben. Another source, a self-professed Trump supporter, said Patel is not very good, may be insecure, and lacks the requisite experience or the measured self-confidence to be FBI director. Yeah, no shit. A lot of this is ground we've covered on the show. FBI agents were furious at Patel for tweeting factually wrong things about the investigation into the Charlie Kirk shooting. They think that Patel and Bongino care too much about social media and their own PR and their own brand. But there's one incredible new anecdote that we have to discuss. So the day after the Charlie Kirk shooting, Kash flew to Provo, Utah to be on the ground pretending to manage the investigation. Remember the night before he was at some fancy restaurant like Rouse or something?
Yeah.
To me, that's like a tomato sauce. Rouse, same place?
It's like this famously hard to get into place on the up in Harlem in New York that like Bill Clinton was there with like Harvey Weinstein like like right after Hillary. Anyway, it's a New York institution, but I've not been there.
Good time was had by all. That's where I think
that's
Kash
where
was tweeting.
Eric Adams used to go, and he said he was a vegetarian. He'd go and order like meat. There's a lot of stories that lead back to Rouse. Like I think like that guy Bo Dietl is always there.
Oh yeah,
it's that kind of place. If you know who Bo Dietl is,
old school.
Like that's kind of who's eating at Rouse.
Okay. So I think Rouse is where it was at a Rouse dinner table where Kash Patel sent the like inaccurate tweet about arresting Kirk's killer when they hadn't yet. So according to this report, though, so Kash Patel flies to Provo, Utah, so he could be on the ground, so he can show up at the press conferences. But he refuses to get off the FBI plane because he doesn't have his special FBI jacket. Apparently, he forgot his jacket, maybe because he was up in New York at Rouse, and he wouldn't get off the plane without one. So the FBI had to scramble and try to find one for him, a size medium jacket. Sure. So they were calling like the Salt Lake City field office. Those guys are trying to work this case. They're searching for a jacket. And now I'm just going to read to you from the Post story, Ben. When a jacket belonging to a female agent was delivered to Patel on the plane, he complained that two areas on the upper sleeves did not have Velcro patches attached. Patel would not leave the plane until he had 2 patches to cover those areas, so members of an FBI SWAT team took patches off their uniforms and ran those patches over to Patel at the airport. The patches were then attached to the loaner FBI raid jacket, and Patel disembarked from the plane. Patel, quote, did not make a positive impression, said Alpha 99. I think Alpha 99 was like the code name for this specific source. Ben, I want to stop there. First of all, just like shout out to this leaker for going to the New York Post first with this story, because they're going to play it right. And also like, Trump is going to read this. Bo Dietl is going to read this.
Yes. Well, when the Murdoch owned New York Post is publishing stuff like this, it's like when the music is starting to play you off, this is not a New York Times thing. That detail is so good because he's clearly such like a petulant, insecure child,
Diva.
Like I need the patches and I need the, to walk off the plane and look like a tough guy.
It's like me fighting with my daughter to get ready for school. Yeah. She's almost 3.
Well, it's just, it is so unbelievably embarrassing that this person is in charge of the FBI. And I'll say this, like, I'm not like one of these people that's going to sit here and, make a lengthy Atlantic magazine kind of tribute to the deep state and, profess the nobility of every person that's ever been like a CIA officer. We made that mistake a little bit in the first Trump term. I will say this, though. It's just a fundamental misreading of human psychology. People that work in the FBI are proud to work at the FBI. You don't have to think that they're like, they walk on air and commit mistakes. And people that work in the military are proud to be in the military. People work at the DEA are proud to be at the DEA, right? When you pardon drug traffickers that it took the DEA and DOJ years to prosecute, probably a bunch of Republicans, hard asses, like they feel humiliated. When you make some career FBI badass, who's again probably Republican, come take off their patches so little Kash can have his Make-A-Wish moment as a director. By the way, I saw that was in the document. We've been calling him Make-A-Wish FBI director here. So we were ahead of the curve. But the point I'm making is that they're beginning, the deep staters are gone, right? Like Peter Strzok and Lisa Page are not the FBI anymore. Like the people they don't like are gone. And what they fundamentally don't understand is that people who've dedicated their lives to an institution are actually proud of that institution more than they care about Kash Patel or Donald Trump.
Right. And they care about the mission.
Even if they're MAGA, like they care more about the mission and the institution than Kash Patel and Donald Trump. They fundamentally just don't understand that. And this could be the thing that fucks them in the end.
I think so too. I think it's a big deal.
I really believe
it's humiliating.
Because guess what? These people know a lot of secrets,
Yep.
And if they keep treating, common thread on the show too, like treating the military like garbage, passing the buck down there, treating the FBI like garbage. Like those are not the people you want to treat like garbage. And so if you're trying to consolidate like authoritarian power, you don't alienate the very people that you need to accumulate said power.
Yeah, I think the kind of modern description of the deep state is wildly overstated.
Yes, it is.
There was a period of time where there was very much a deep state in this country. There is a permanent national security class of technocratic
they go to like
professional
Aspen's
people.
Security Forum and
or even that, or they're like the like what is it, GS-15, high level.
It's both the kind of revolving door, national security elites crowd, and then there's the highest level of civil service. But we're now talking about agents, you know, special agents at the FBI, operators in the military.
Right. And so I don't think those people are like deep state running the country. I do think they work in buildings where you end up having a lot of power and a lot of inertia.
Yeah.
Right. And when your leader is not just like when you're talking about a Hegseth or a Kash Patel, they're like on paper self-evidently not qualified for the job. But then when, a year later, they're acting like fucking clowns and they're getting humiliated in the pages of the New York Post and humiliating you, right? When you're going home to Thanksgiving and everyone is like, what's up with this dipshit you work for who wouldn't put his little FBI patches on and to get off the plane, right? Like, you don't want to be answering questions about that.
He's talking about seeing Charlie Kirk in Valhalla and flying to see his girlfriend on a private jet, It's embarrassing.
Speaking of which, roll the tape.
Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
You're not a Viking, sir. You weren't even wearing the coat.
Here's the thing.
Where were the patches?
The people standing behind him look so uncomfortable.
They're just rolling their eyes.
They just kind of got their heads down.
This guy sucks so bad.
This is so embarrassing that we have to sit here. We've got the watch.
What watch?
What is he? You're watching out for like the fucking patch that you
fucking
want to put
Seiko?
on
What are you talking about, buddy?
And the backup is Bongino. I mean, like, the amazing thing about this whole situation is that the backup, the guy that's going to come in for the bullpen, is an even crazier podcaster.
You got this guy whose head looks like Minecraft, just like raging in the background, trying to clean up Kash Patel's. Oh, they did insert. Remember, they installed like
the second
number two deputy to take over. I don't know. Listen. Part of this desire, I do want him gone. I'm with you on the content. I do worry that they're listening and rifling through our
they don't like us. They don't like this. But I mean, Bongino and Kash Patel go in there every day and like, who does number 2 work for?
Yeah. Well, there's all this other stuff in there about like, I think some FBI agents like Quantico were making fun of Kash for wanting a sidearm, and then he was like polygraphing the dudes to see who's making fun of him. Like,
it's not going to work. You're going to lose in the end. You're not going to beat the FBI, bro. I'm sorry.
They're going to be there after you're gone, buddy.
They're going to have the watch.
Ask Hoover.
They will have the fucking watch.